Welcome to Seniors World. This week, Seniors Last Word on the agenda. We have the Premier League is back. It is the second round and just about 15 games to go. Everyone, or most people, still think it is Man City's title to lose. And everyone is saying, unless otherwise, I think they are champions in waiting. On Seniors Last Word this weekend, I am saying far from it. This is a race that is on. It's starting from a marathon. And for me, now into a 100-meter race where one mistake like this could be the one that tilts the balance in favor of either Man City or Liverpool. For the lead that they are having, 9 points ahead of Liverpool, Liverpool having a game on hand on them, I think that makes it interesting because on paper, then it looks like it's gone. But it isn't. After 12 wins on the trot, recently Man City dropped points to a team that nobody saw dropping or forcing points off Man City. And now the next 4 games for Man City are all very, very important. They first play Norwich, then they'll play Spurs, then they play Everton, and then they play Manchester United, their City rivals, in the next coming 3 weeks. Now that makes it very, very interesting because from me, I see them dropping some more points there. 3, probably even 5 during that spell. Yet on the other side, Liverpool, now the chasers, the only ones with a realistic chance of catching them. For them, they'll be playing Burnley, I think, over this weekend. Then they play Norwich, Leeds, and Arsenal. You look at who is playing who, and you think City have a tougher run than Liverpool. And before you say no, I want to remind you, in the last 3 seasons, you won't believe City have lost one. They lost 6 games, 9 games, and 4 games in 3 seasons past us. When they were champions last season, they lost 6 times. A season before that, they lost 9 times. That's 15 games lost. And the season before, they lost 4 times. That's 19 games, 19 defeats lost in 3 seasons. Who says Man City can't be beaten? Who says they've lost 19 times in the last 3 seasons? That's quite something for the opposition to realize. They are beatable. In that spell, Liverpool last season lost how many? 9 when City were winning. But a season before that, when they're champions, they lost 3 times. And before that, they just lost twice. So it shows you that this team has a propensity to lose games. That is Man City. So for people who are chasing, that's hope you can ride on. As we speak today, after winning 12 games on the trot, they suddenly drop points. So the thing about Man City, you don't know when they're going to lose, but they'll lose. So all you have to do is to just keep going. You do your best, get your results. That's all that Liverpool has to do, to focus on their games and win their games, because history shows us that on the balance of the results that we've seen, Man City are vulnerable. They don't draw too many, but they lose too many. And when you look at the teams that beat City over 3 seasons, they're the most unlikely teams. So even though no one will tell you beforehand which game it is that they will lose, the history shows us that they will lose those games. That's interesting, and that's something to hold on to. When you look at their strength, the fact that everyone in their team scores goals, this season, their midfielders are the ones leading the scorers charts. Bernardo Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, Mahrez, Sterling, who is the forward, they all are on 7 goals, but that's where you expect goals to come from. They no longer have a front man who can score those goals and rely on him. Now, the way Pep Guardiola is handling it is let the goals be spread out. It becomes harder for opponents to know where the threat is. But we know where the threat is from Man City. Man City's threat is the entire team. Threat will come from the back, from the midfield, and from attack. And when it comes to assisting, again, the same way they're scoring goals from all over, everyone in Man City assists. Now that's dangerous. Think about Cancelo, the defender who has 5 assists. Crazy. Jesus Gabriel, who is their highest assist provider with 7, is not even a starter these days, but he still has that number of assists. Now, when you look at Klosler, every one of them is providing an assist. Unfortunately, this season, someone like De Bruyne is only having 2 assists, which is strange for a guy who sometimes provides as many as 18 assists. But this time, it's not so good. But where he has fallen slightly, others have stepped up. So it is now a team game. So the strength of City this season is they're playing more as a team. No longer do they have one individual they focus their strength on. It's really, really as a team, which is something incredible. And if you notice, every season they have a star player who comes out and they can even change that one the following season. Over the last 3 seasons, Gabriel Silva has been, Bernardo Silva has been the player this season. Last season it was I think Gundogan and of course De Bruyne. The other season as well, there's a season when Sterling has come up and is the key player. For me, Mahrez has also come good this season. So they have individuals changing those roles of the player. That tells you that they have quality in depth and they're strong when the squad element is looked at. Now, that is something that other clubs don't have and they don't enjoy, but Man City have it. And while we think they are so good going forward, I've just told you they are not the ones who are leading the scorers charts, both individually and as a team. That's Liverpool's foothold. But defensively, they have the best defense in terms of numbers. They've only conceded 14 goals. Now, they don't have individual defenders we can call the very best, except of course Diaz, who was the player of last season. But because of the way they play, the way they possess, the way they had the ball, the way they pass it around, the way they just keep it from the opponent, that's their way of defending. So while they're attacking you by keeping and having that ball and using it almost perfectly, at the same time, in the same breath, that flowing football, that fluid football of theirs does 2 things in one. They are attacking you, but because they are not losing that ball, they're also defending. That's why you have the stats which show 14 goals conceded. But remember, they also have an outstanding goalkeeper. I think for me, he's the best this season. Yes, better than Mendy, better than Alisson of Liverpool. And the reason is not much, You think City are not attacked? You think they don't have to defend? Then why are we talking about their goalkeeper being the goalkeeper of the season so far? It means they are vulnerable. It means teams still find a way to attack them. And then moments have come in, not just one, but several moments have come in when it's their goalkeeper who has had to save them or to keep them in certain games. Now, that tells you, if I'm Liverpool, if I'm a team that is chasing, it tells me I don't have to worry much. All I need to do is to identify that vulnerability, that weakness, and exploit it, because if their goalkeeper is the best so far, it means he has had to save a lot this season. Now, it tells you, and that's for me the route which many teams use, so that in the end you realize that City lose games. Now, for me, that is the hope that Liverpool have. Liverpool on their side, obviously, the best team going forward, 60 goals, the best record. They have individuals who are leading the scorers charts. We have Salah, we have Diogo Jota, we have Mane in there. Then when you look at the assist side, of course, we have Trent Alexander now leading with 10. Salah following closely there, Robertson as well. So the top 3 assist provider in the league are Liverpool. The top strikers in the league are Liverpool. When you add that, offensively, Liverpool's game is flawless. Now, the other thing that is curious for me is, while everybody is talking about the vulnerability that Liverpool has at the back, we know they are. When it gets to the numbers and the stats and you say, prove that, you can't prove it. They've only conceded 18 goals, 4 worse than City, who are the best by far defensively. Liverpool have only conceded 18. Losing games, they've only lost twice. City have lost twice. What is there to choose between Liverpool defense and City's defense? Very little. But what is there to choose between Liverpool attack and City attack? Quite a lot, because the best attackers at Liverpool, the best assist providers at Liverpool, in terms of goals scored, Liverpool has it. So Liverpool obviously are better going forward. Defensively, they are edged marginally by City, but the difference is not much. So where is the vulnerability? I don't see much of that. And in terms of strengthening at this stage, Liverpool have just acquired Luis Diaz. What a footballer. That Colombian is as good as anyone he has found in that Liverpool attack, perhaps even better when it comes to technical skills. He has speed to burn. He has technical skills which are amazing. He's a flair player. He shoots with the right, he shoots with the left. He's dynamic. His mobility is just off the cuff. He was the best player, by the way, in the Portuguese league. So what we are seeing now is not something that is taking us for a ride. No, this is a player who is proving that what he's been doing in Portuguese league was not by accident. He is that good. Now, he is causing a problem or a scenario at Liverpool where Sadio Mane can no longer afford to sleep. Salah can no longer afford to sleep. Firmino can no longer afford to think he has a right to just come in and out. And of course, Diogo Jota has already challenged this front 3 and is showing why he must start. Now Diaz has come in the question. So what you're going to have is each and every one of these forwards is going to be pushed to the limit. Diaz, for one, is an attacking midfielder who plays on the right. On the left, he can play in the center. So Liverpool can still come out with a 4-man attack at any one point if they feel like. They can make the changes that they want to if they feel like, and impact games. And at the right time also, it seems like the injuries at Liverpool Liverpool suffered in November and December are all coming good. As we speak now, going to the last 15 games, everybody is fit again except Henderson, who still has one or two problems. So you have a fit again Liverpool, who even not at their best in December, they still kept in there. And by January, when Mane and Salah left and were away for 3 weeks plus, they were able to win matches, qualify for the League Cup final, win in the FA Cup, and leave Chelsea behind to now be making City as the only focal point going for the Championship challenge. So you see that Liverpool has again proven that they have quality in depth. And then the stability, because they don't change much. They really don't change much. All they do, and what Klopp does, is to keep making these players believe that their quality is one of the best. They can challenge City. Now what we have is the challenge comes in the next 4 weeks. What happens in that time will determine how far either Liverpool stay behind City or how much they're going to push City. For me, it looks like in every sense, these two are going for each other. Think about it. Last season, City wins it hands down. They win and beat Liverpool by 17 points. Liverpool finished third. City winning 17 points above them. 2 seasons ago, Liverpool were champions, City were second, but Liverpool beat Man City by 18 points. So when either of these two teams is good, they're really, really good, and they're much better than either of their opponent. But then in 2018-2019, when City won it, it was just by a single point, each team going with as many as 98 to 97 points. These are teams that know how to take each other on in a race. It's not one that you can say it's gone. No, they know how to take each other on in a race, and they're damn good at it. They respect each other. The quality is probably the same. The difference between City and Chelsea for me is in the way they play. I think City are marginally better than Liverpool because the way they use that ball, the way they keep it, the way they maintain their shape, just by following one thing: don't lose that ball, keep it, hide it. That's their system. Once you do that, your opponent won't get the ball. And then the consistency, and then their class, because they keep that ball brilliantly. They just don't lose. They don't give it away. Liverpool, that's their weakness. They're not so good at keeping that ball so proficiently over long spells. When they drop it, they can look really, really vulnerable. When they drop it, remember their midfielders are slow. Neither Thiago or Fabinho or Henderson or Keita, neither of those is quick enough. When they drop points, they really look bad. Even Jones, the young man, they're all slow, and somehow they play with confidence, false confidence at times. They drop points in midfield, and by the time they realize danger has come, they're always playing balls over the top, and their way of defending, which is a high line, of course, makes them play consistently in a risky fashion, even though teams are still yet to prove that this doesn't work for Liverpool, because as yet, they've only lost twice, same number with City. So risky it is, it works for them. It worked last season, it works for the last 4 seasons. Their system works for them. They know how to play it. And in terms of, are they really, really looking vulnerable all the time? That's not what we see in terms of results. So these two, I think, they're still going to have a long way to go. They are going to go at each other. Remember, I've just told you the problem with City, and this is what will work against them. Even they themselves, they don't know when they lose a game. They don't. They have an idea. No, they don't have an idea. But if City have lost a total of 19 league games in the last 3 seasons, 6 last season, 9 the season before that, 4 the other season, that's vulnerability. That's a team that can be beaten. That is hope for opponents. That's future which is not seen. Now, it tells me, no, this race is definitely not far from over. City can lose points. In terms of goal difference, yes, there are only 2 goals ahead of Liverpool in terms of goal difference. 43 for City, 41 for Liverpool. Just 2. Now, where does that leave our friends Chelsea, who at one point looked like they were the team everyone was going to chase? By December, they had fallen off the grid. January, much further away. As it is now, they're 13 points behind City. Liverpool, with a game in hand, they are 4 points above Chelsea, with a chance to now make it 7 if they win their next game. Will Chelsea really try and catch up with that? I don't think so. The weakness of Chelsea is the strength of both City and Liverpool. Chelsea just simply don't score goals. Their attack is really, really very, very poor. If you compare with the league, the players that they have, Havertz and Timo Werner, really 3 goals between them. Werner 1 goal, Havertz 2 goals. He's a guy who seemed to have made it when he scored that winning goal in the Champions League. So who is there in Chelsea? Lukaku, 5 goals. He came with so much aplomb, but he can't deliver the goals. So who else? You can imagine Jorginho, 6 goals. He's their second top scorer. And he's a midfielder scoring what? Penalties. So where are those goals that are being scored in open play? None. Chelsea have only scored what? As many as what? 30 goals? That's something that makes you wonder what's happening to them. Where are the goals coming from? Nowhere. So the problem with them is, if you're going to chase Chelsea, Liverpool, and City, you've got to have to win games. You only win games by scoring goals. Now, if you don't score goals, you're not going to win football games, and that is the scenario they are being faced with. So at the moment, they have conceded 8 goals, which reminds us that they're still very good defensively. But they are good defensively, but City are defending better. 18 conceded. What's the difference between what Liverpool have conceded with Chelsea? The same. So suddenly their advantage of defending has gone away. So if you lose your defensive advantage and you don't have an attacking advantage, where does that leave you? That is the problem with Chelsea. They are losing games faster than City and Liverpool. And they seem also to be a team that drop their heads. When things are not going on, they seem to drop their heads. When the things are going on, they need form, they need momentum, and they do that. Now, momentum is the key word for City. When they have a good momentum, they do have a good run, and they've used it. Liverpool, when they have good momentum like they're doing right now, they do use it well, and it carries them very, very fast. So for me, City and Liverpool have the momentum, and they are taking advantage, full advantage. Chelsea are so sloppy. They are inconsistent. Suddenly, whatever has happened to them, whether it's a loss of confidence or the inconsistencies in the lineup, one wonders. I just think that they are definitely a notch below City and Liverpool. They won't stay in this race. That is why, for me, it is now officially a 2-horse race between City and Liverpool. Now, are they going to take it all the way to the end? I think they are. I mean, these two teams, when it comes to going for each other, challenging each other, they are so good at it. Full respect between Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp, and then the teams themselves, full respect for each other. When it comes on the pitch, everybody knows what the other is capable of. Right now, in terms of quality, player by player, I think Liverpool and Man City, there is nothing to choose. In fact, when it comes to the depth, if it were not for the injuries that keep on hitting the Liverpool camp, player by player across board, I think in terms of quality, Liverpool would have better quality. But Pep Guardiola has shown that he uses whatever class of player he has, whatever quality he has a way of transforming that one. Then as a unit, as a collective, he makes the collective look so good that everybody believes or ends up believing that it is the quality of the individual players. When for me, it's not actually necessarily the quality of the individual players, it's just the quality of football, the system they play, the fluidity in this system, the philosophy they all are playing, and because they're such a flawless unit, they play, or they are made to play like a machine, every piece fitting in almost perfectly, they become almost a perfect fit. And then we end up thinking they have the best players. They don't have the best players, but they have the best team. For me, they have the best team. They just understanding between them, the mentality of every player, the desire they still have to win, the mentality they have, the way they see themselves as champions game in, game out, the way they don't relax on anything. I think they become really, really the team to chase. But these two, for me, both the coaches and the teams themselves, Liverpool and City, as we speak today, they are the quintessential example of clubs in England that have completely set a bar that everyone, every week in and out, must work towards. They are just up there, away from everyone else. For a moment, Thomas, the coach of Chelsea, looked like he is up there with them, and he's still good. He's still up with them. But you can clearly see that the experience of the Premier League now, that's his disadvantage. It is the advantage of Pep Guardiola and Klopp. They know how to use their squad over a long period of time, which Tuchel is yet to master. I think that is the disadvantage he has. That's why he's struggling to get the selection right, to use that squad right. He's struggling to maintain a consistent team. He struggles to choose the right players for what games. It's still a problem he has because he hasn't yet mastered the teams he's playing against, while Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp have mastered that. So over a long period of time, these two are far better than Tuchel when it comes to team selection and strategy and tactics. So in the end, where we are now with 15 games to go and this weekend with us here, I really think it's still City and Liverpool. Is it over? Certainly not. Do I think we're going to have a very, very interesting title race? I think it is. It's now between two teams, no question for me. It is City and Liverpool. City in the lead right now, but it's now a 100-meter race. A slip up somewhere, one will take advantage. And with games coming up fast for Man City, Spurs, Everton, Man U, the next games coming up after this weekend. Then you look on the other side, it is Norwich, Leeds, Arsenal and Burnley for Liverpool. Liverpool have an easier run, and I think in between the next 3-4 weeks, City are going to drop enough points to lower the gap between themselves and Liverpool to give us now a real race in the next 10 games before the season comes to an end. So yes, fans, there is still a title to look forward to. There's a championship race to look forward to. There are all cheers to still come. Big games coming up. But for me, it's going to be City and Liverpool all the way. And no, the title race is not over. It's a good race. It's a race that we all have to keep alert and tighten our seatbelts because it is going to be a fun race. Just like 2018, 2019, in the end, the one who has the nerve, the one who has the mental aptitude and fortitude to maintain and not lose courage, not lose hope when things don't go wrong, the one who can keep it there, I think will beat the other to the tape. But for me, both teams are that good. Both teams qualitatively, quantitatively, they are that good. All players are now fit and they're just ready and willing to go. Yes, with Liverpool having to play the League Cup final, which gives them a good reason to be motivated for the season. They are still in the FA Cup, a good reason to remain motivated. They are chasing the Champions League, good reason for motivation, and they are chasing the Championship, good reason for motivation. All those combined make Liverpool hopeful and believing. You know the mentality monsters? When they are on a run, when they believe they can win this and that, each win, each competition prepares them for the league. Now, that means they are not giving up at all to City. All they have to do is to keep winning their games, not worrying about City. City will lose. I have shown you that they will lose. That is the law of averages. Just by that, they keep focusing on what they do, that is Liverpool. Somewhere they are going to have to come head to head, and in the end, the better team in the end to keep their nerve will win. And that for me, as we go into another weekend with the return of Premiership football, I think ends it for me. Looking forward to next week when the Champions League comes through again, and then we continue with the battle for the Premier League. But for me and you, that's my last word. Goodbye.